1970s with lead singer Stephen Pearcy. The classic lineup solidified in 1983 with Pearcy on lead vocals, Warren DeMartini and Robin Crosby on guitar, Bobby Blotzer on drums, and Juan Crocier on bass. Ratt is one of the most dysfunctional bands ever. There are constant lineup changes, fights over who owns the rights to the name, multiple versions of the band touring at the same time. It's a disaster. In their 40-year career, they've only recorded 7 studio albums, 4 in the 80s, 2 in the 90s, and 1 in 2010. I thought I had it bad as a Kiss fan. I got into Ratt from seeing their music videos on Metal Mania when I was probably in middle school going into high school. They're one of my mom's favorite bands. She had a car called the Rattmobile, so I probably checked out all her CDs, particularly the greatest hits that they released in 1991. I'm going to rank the albums from my least favorite to my favorite. Just my opinion, feel free to disagree. Before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe, and you can support the channel on Patreon. Number 7, Infestation. Released in 2010, is produced by Michael Baskett. Like I said, Ratt has gone through a lot of lineup changes, especially over the last 20 years, but they managed to do a bit of a reunion in 2007 with Pearcy, DeMartini, and Blotzer, but with John Corabi on rhythm guitar and Robbie Crane on bass. Crosby sadly passed away in 2002, and I guess Crocier just didn't want to rejoin the band at the time. The band decided to do an album, but by that time Corabi had quit and been replaced by Carlos Cavazo. The goal was to write something that would fit into the first 2 Ratt albums, and I think that's ultimately the mistake they made. Like Kiss's 2009 Sonic Boom, it doesn't feel genuine. It feels like it's trying too hard to recapture the old days, and the band is trying too hard to write the way they did when they were just starting out. It just comes across as unmemorable and kind of generic songs. The lyrics, I think, are really bad, filled with bad sexual innuendo, sometimes not even innuendo. A lot of it really kind of made me cringe. There's some solid riffing, but this album is in one ear and out the other. Number 6, Dancin' Undercover. Released in 1986, this is produced by Beau Hill. It is the band's 3rd album and achieved platinum status. I think it's a perfectly fine album. It's kind of blah, it doesn't do anything for me, but it's fine, and I really do like Dance. That's a fun song. Number 5, Out of the Cellar. Released in 1984, this was produced by Beau Hill. It is the band's debut album and their most successful, going triple platinum and debuting in the top 10. The album cover also features Tawny Gatane. This is a really strong debut. The musicianship in general is solid. There is some great guitar playing. I love just listening to the guitars on Round and Round. Great stuff. Pearcy's voice also adds a lot in that it's unique. Is he the best singer ever? No. But he's got an interesting quality that stands out from a lot of the pretty boy blondes of the day. And the album is just full of good, catchy hooks. Released in 1998, this was produced by Mike Stone and Beau Hill. It is the band's 4th album and achieved platinum status, though struggled a little more than the first 3. Ranking this above the debut, or really any of the albums above the debut, is probably controversial. I really like the production. It's got a great drum sound with a more present bass. It sounds fuller to me than the first 3. There's a little more blues in DeMartini's playing, and I'd like to say that DeMartini is the star of this band. Everyone in the band is good at what they do, but to me, DeMartini is the appeal. He is a terrific guitar player that I think is somewhat underrated. There's some really solid material on this album, including I Want a Woman, which is one of my favorite songs by the band. Number 3, Ratt. Released in 1999, this was produced by Richie Zito. It is the band's 6th album and their first in almost a decade at the time. The band had sort of fallen apart in the early 90s, and when they decided to reform, they did so as a 4-piece with DeMartini on guitar, Pearcy on vocals, Blotzer on drums, and Crane on bass. This is a bit of a different sound, of course meant to be slightly more contemporary. It's not grunge in any way, but definitely is less hair metal and more of a blues-based hard rock. I dig the different sound. It's still got great hooks and guitar playing. I really like these choruses, and I think the lyric writing is strong. It feels more mature. And We Don't Belong is my second favorite Ratt song. Nobody Writes for Free is my favorite, for the record. Number 2, Invasion of Your Privacy. Released in 1985, this was produced by Beau Hill. It was the band's second album, achieving double platinum status and debuting in the top 10. This is a really impressive album. I think it's one of the greats of the hair metal days. The production is stronger than the first, with tighter musicianship and better songwriting. I think this is great. Every song works and is fun. And like always, the guitar playing is just great. Number 1, Detonator. Released in 1990, this was produced by Desmond Child and Arthur Payson. It is the band's fifth album and achieved gold status. Somewhat disappointed by the reception to Reach for the Sky, the band decided to part ways with Beau Hill and wanted to team with Child. We've talked a lot about Child on this channel just because he was a massive part of 80s rock, and the year prior to Detonator, he had given Alice Cooper one of his biggest hits, so the collab makes sense. I love this album. I think the production is solid with a great drum sound. Blotzer is great, and DeMartini is great as always. This is just full of some of my favorite songs by the band. Shame, 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 Lovin' You's a Dirty Job, One Step Away, Giving Yourself Away, all great stuff. I really enjoy Child as a writer, and I love what he brought to the band. Don't know if this is controversial, but I really like this album. So that's my ranking. What do you think of Ratt? Do you like these albums? What would be your ranking? Have you seen them live? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you for watching.